Moto's back, baby. Well, sort of. It's delivered two new foldable smartphones for 2023, which, depending on where you live, will either be called the Razr 40 and 40 Ultra, or Razr and Razr Plus. Regardless, I've been testing the Ultra model for the past week or so, and it's safe to say I've not been this happy with a Motorola phone in a long time. I'm Cam Bunton from Pocket-lint, and this is my review of the Razr 40 Ultra, or Razr Plus if you're in North America. If you do like it, please do leave a thumbs up, subscribe and tap the notification bell to make sure you don't miss any more of our uploads. And Motorola gets a lot right with the latest Razr. It's a compact phone that turns a big smartphone screen into something that's portable and easy to fit into your pocket. It's even got rounded edges to make it comfortable. It makes it nice to hold, but conversely also means that it loses some of its Razr-ness. The Motorola Razr historically has been a sharp angled phone. It wasn't named after a razor for no reason. And yet the 2023 versions don't have anything particularly sharp and angular about them at all. They're rounded, soft and friendly, so while the first model looked like you might cut yourself accidentally on it, this one just wants to give you a cuddle. It's a good looking phone though that snaps shut, leaving no gap between the two halves of the phone. That means you're not likely to find dust or debris finding its way in here, at least not as easily as you might on the Galaxy Z Flip 4 with its gap near the hinge. Moto is launching the phone in three colours: Infinite Black, Glacier Blue and Viva Magenta. The last of those is the only one that features a soft vegan leather back rather than glass, and that gives the pinkish reddish model a softer feel on the palm, but the matte frosted glass on the other two has a great smooth texture. Now, the revamped cover display on the Razr 40 Ultra is undoubtedly its highlight feature. It's the largest cover screen we've seen so far on a modern folding phone, and it's massively bigger than Samsung's own Z Flip 4 display. It pushes all the way down to the edges surrounding the dual cameras. To make the most of it, Moto has refreshed the cover screen software to give you easy access to interactive elements like notification, quick settings, weather, calendar, and even a dedicated full-screen Spotify player interface. And what surprised me the most about the exterior display was how much I came to use it. Its position and size means it's far more useful than any of the previous Razr cover screens. It became a really handy way to read up on my notifications on the fly or reading messages, and even responding to those by typing on the keyboard. I was expecting the keyboard to still be a bit cramped and hard to get used to, but that wasn't the case at all. It's large enough that it's comfortable to use and easy to type on. This added usefulness meant I didn't have to open the phone for every single task. For those times where I just need to respond to something quickly, it gets the job done. Now, it can be used to load all manner of other apps as well, so if you're navigating somewhere on Google Maps, particularly while walking, you don't need to open your phone to see the next turn, for instance. And for a lot of those apps, you can choose to have it expand to fill the entire surface area or crop to just above the cameras. The latter option can be useful for those apps that have interface elements that are blocked by those two cameras in the corner. Switching from full screen to cropped is simple too. All that's needed is a long press on the bar or line near the bottom of the screen. And thanks to the revamped hinge on the phone, you can set the cover to almost any angle. And that makes it convenient for taking selfies with the main camera too. Open it up and you get a large 6.9-inch POLED flexible display with some impressive specs. It's an LTPO panel too, so it can ramp up and decrease refresh rates quickly and efficiently from as low as 1 Hz all the way up to 165. It's HDR10 Plus compatible too. It's a really great display, and yet there's this feeling that in saying that I should probably lead with a caveat. It's a really great display for a foldable screen, because foldable displays do have a couple of disadvantages over traditional smartphone displays, and that's almost entirely down to the materials used to make it a usable, flexible display. The permanently attached screen protector is essentially a plastic film. By its very nature, it's not as oleophobic as glass screens, and so fingerprints collect quite easily. It soon becomes covered in smears, and when caught in light, those can be quite distracting. Plastic film is also slightly less fluid and slippery under the finger, and so you don't always get that same effortless fluidity as glass offers when swiping and interacting with the touchscreen. It's not bad, but it's worth knowing. If you're used to using plastic film protectors on your phone screens already, it's not an issue at all. The other potential issue is longevity. I've not had nearly enough time with this brand new phone to tell if it'll last the 2 or 3 years most buyers go with their phones before upgrading. With it folding neatly in the middle and being opened and shut frequently, there's always that slight concern that it might suffer from wear and tear after prolonged use. Saying that, the benefit of Motorola's folding hinge design is that it doesn't create one distinct pressure point across the middle of the phone like Samsung's does. And that, along with reducing the visibility of any crease, means it's not being subjected to as much punishment. As displays go though, it's very good. It's a bright panel that delivers plenty of light, colour and contrast to give good impact to videos and games of all kinds. and because the crease is almost invisible, there's no jarring distortion in the middle of the display. Once it's open, you can watch it and play on it just like you would with a Candy Bar smartphone. It's nice and smooth too, thanks to those high refresh rates. One of the things I appreciate the most is the clean approach to software. There are a couple of Motorola created apps and features like the clock and weather widget and gestures for launching the camera, but on the whole it feels very similar to the software you'd get on a Pixel. This light touch makes it really easy and convenient to use and means it's not loaded with a ton of additional apps that you might find on the Samsung competitor. The only thing is missing is decent flex mode optimization. In the camera app you'll see the camera view move up to the top of the display when the screen is folded at an angle, but it doesn't do that in any other app. Now, it may seem unusual for a pretty expensive phone in 2023, but Motorola opted to fit the Razr 40 Ultra with last year's flagship chipset. That's not necessarily a bad thing because that chipset is the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. It's fast, it's powerful, and is battery friendly. That was one of the reasons Motorola chose it, and our testing led to surprisingly good performance from the 3800 mAh battery inside. Most days with my own typical usage, which is usually a mixture of social media, video watching, gaming and web browsing for 2 or 3 hours a day, I'd finish with around 40% left over. In fact, despite having only 100 mAh more than the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4, there was never the sense that I had to be austere with my phone usage. It just didn't seem to be troubled at all, and even on my busiest days, didn't come concerningly close to draining it. And when it does need to be refilled again, there's a 30-watt wired charger, and that'll get you topped up pretty quickly. It has the benefit of wireless charging too, but at 5 watts that's laughably slow and definitely only worth using overnight on a bedside table. As for overall speed and performance, it felt zippy and fast consistently. I put a solid chunk of time into Mario Kart Tour and it kept up well with the fast moving animations and reactions. The only thing I noticed was the phone got slightly warm after prolonged use, but was never to the point where I was worried it was getting overheated. It's worth noting here that I was testing it during the warmest weeks of the year so far, and that undoubtedly has some impact. Now it seems something of a default for folding clamshells to have a dual camera setup on the front cover, and the Razr 40 Ultra follows that template. The primary camera has a large 12 megapixel sensor with an impressive f-stop 1.5 aperture. It's joined by a 12 megapixel ultra wide, and that also doubles as a macro lens. On the whole, it's a strong system, and I think it will serve most buyers well. In strong outdoor daylight conditions, it can deliver images with vibrant colours that didn't border too far into the oversaturated look we see from Samsung. Photos didn't have too much of that artificially sharpened, overly contrast-heavy look either. My only criticism is its handling around bright highlights and exposure. Often in a lot of different scenarios, there was a sense that exposure might be a tiny bit too high, so it delivered slightly muted colours, but more crucially meant that bright highlights in the images were blown out and had no detail. So you lose some of the texture of the object. That really is quite a nitpicky complaint though, because the camera was actually really easy to use and to get good photos from. It seems particularly good at taking photos of faces and people. The ultra-wide is strong in daylight too, and as mentioned has a dual macro functionality. This allows you to get really close to small objects and get in-focus images. It adds a creative edge to the system, but for the most part the images from the main camera looked better. That meant when it came to shooting close up, I found it was a better option to hit the 2x zoom on the main camera and get better image with a better depth of field from that. It's relatively strong in low light conditions too, thanks to that f-stop 1.5 aperture. There's a night mode for shooting in very low light situations where for the most part it delivers strong sharp images even at nighttime. It wasn't a perfect performer here though, often delivering images where there was some noticeable noise in the skies and the clouds, and similarly the ultra-wide wasn't quite as strong here and struggled to get focus when using the night mode. In the end, the Razr 40 Ultra represents quite a big step forward for the folding smartphone market. The big screen on the outside is surely hinting at what's to come, and I'd be very surprised if it wasn't the start of a new trend of maximizing that outer cover space and using it all for screen. Otherwise, the revamped hinge, the premium design and the flagship processor inside mean it's a great all-rounder and comparatively doesn't cost a huge amount. Let me know what you think of the Razr 40 Ultra or Razr Plus in the comments down below. If you did like this video, please do leave a thumbs up, subscribe and tap the notification bell, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye for now.